All right, so I haven't done a video for a few weeks because we've had such technology problems. So if you can see this, can you please give me a heart, give me a thumbs up, let me know that you can see this, that you can see me, that you can see my board, that there's nothing wonky going on. Hi, how are you guys? Happy Tuesday. It is actually not that warm. I mean, it's warm here, but it was really warm this last few days here in Minnesota. So today is actually almost only like 84, 85 or something, which feels nice. Okay, so I am going to make a marinated tomato salad. I'm actually going to add cucumber and onion to it, and this is a really, really great recipe for utilizing fresh produce, particularly tomatoes, which you can get your hands on so easily at the farmer's markets. I get what is called an imperfect food box. I mean, let me know if you guys know what imperfect foods is. Why is this doing this to me? You guys, I'm having trouble with my, I'm having trouble with technology. Imperfect Foods is this company that sends you like the B products. So rather than the perfect tomatoes that you would buy at the grocery store, they send the imperfect ones and you pay a little bit less money, but you also, you know, it just eliminates food waste. Morning, Tim. Hi. Well, afternoon, I think we are. Hi, Paulette. 63 degrees in Bellevue. Oh. Although, wait, that's kind of chilly. I'm kind of loving the whole 84 degrees. It feels like summer, and I'm cool with that. All right, so someone mentioned to me that I need to be taking my rings off when I cook, and I'm going to be real honest. My rings are stuck right now because it's swollen, so they don't all come off. But I usually do take them off, but whatever. It is what it is. Okay, so in my Imperfect Foods box, I got a good dozen tomatoes. And I have so many of these tomatoes that I need to use these guys up. And I don't know about you guys, but tomatoes are really easy to get your hands on. We eat a lot of them in the summer. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to make a quick marinated tomato salad. And I'm going to use tomatoes, but I'm also going to use cucumbers. That was another thing that came in my box that was I have a lot of. I also have green onions from my garden and fresh basil. Then I also have some onion, red onion. If you don't like onion, skip that. And then I'm also going to add in some mozzarella balls. You don't have to add mozzarella balls, but let me tell you, that makes the whole thing extra special. All right, you'll need a small bowl. This is going to be how we're going to mix up our olive oil with our herbs and before we add it to our tomatoes. So this is really, really simple. The first thing that we want to do is deal with our cucumber, because cucumbers, the seeds in the cucumbers is where the liquid is, and so we really do want to take the seeds out. If you don't want your salad to be extra watery, take the seeds out. That's the other thing you want to do anytime you're making like a tzatziki sauce. The seeds of your cucumbers, if you de-seed your cucumber, is where you're going to get a lot, you'll be able to take a lot of liquid out. You don't have to do that. If you don't mind the liquid, that's totally cool. However, it helps. The other thing that can help too is if you salt your tomatoes and your cucumbers first and set them aside for a little bit. That salt pulls the moisture out and helps keep the moisture levels down a little bit. So it's just real simple. Just grab your cucumber, grab a spoon, and just kind of pull that center. Can you see that, guys? Just kind of pull that center right out of your cucumber. And if you want to eat that, eat it. Otherwise, I just kind of set it aside. It's up to you if you want to peel your cucumbers, or if you have small children, I usually recommend you peel cucumbers, but if you don't have small children, I don't have small children. Just let it go. So I'm going to cut this into rather large chunks, because I'm also going to chunk up my tomatoes. I'm not going to dice them. I'm just going to kind of chunk them up. Pop that right into our bowl. I'm going to use 1 whole cucumber and about 6 tomatoes. It's just kind of a guesstimation of what your family prefers as far as if you like cucumbers or tomatoes or what you like. So once again, I'm going to pull the seeds out of this one just to kind of help with that moisture content, because cucumbers have a lot of water in them. They're good for you though, aren't they? Pull that out of there. And then we'll just chunk them up. Nothing special about that. All right, now that that part is done, we're gonna move on to our tomatoes. Hang on, you guys, there we go. Okay, so like I said, I have imperfect tomatoes from Imperfect Foods. These are Roma tomatoes, but they're all different sizes. Some of them are cracked, and that's why they are in the Imperfect Foods box. I'm gonna use probably 6, but I'm gonna kind of wait and see what it looks like when I get there. I'm just gonna chunk them. So I'm going to cut them in half again, and then from here I just kind of take that center, the core out of there. Makes it easy for me. And then I'm just going to chunk them up. Like so. I'm going to do this to about 6 of them. I want there to be more tomato than cucumber, because that's what my family prefers. And again, if you don't like your super watery, taking the seeds out of the tomato also helps with that water content. Especially like if you're making pizza, then taking the seeds out of the tomatoes is often where you're going to get that extra liquid that makes your crust soggy. You're going to want to take the seeds out. A lot of people don't know that. All right, chunk these up. Make sure you have a good sharp knife whenever you're working with tomatoes, because of course cutting tomatoes can be a challenge if your knife isn't sharp. When I was young, my mom did not have good knives. And cutting tomatoes was always more like squishing them than it was actually cutting them. Now as an adult, I greatly appreciate good knives. Can you guys see how pretty this is going to be? That is going to be so pretty. This is going to sit in the fridge for a couple hours and marinate. That's why it's called a marinated salad. It'll sit in the herbs and the oils. You're going to use a balsamic vinegar. If you have a flavored balsamic vinegar, that would be even more special. I'm just going to use a plain old vinegar. You can use multiple different kinds of tomatoes. You could even use cherry tomatoes if you have them. I don't necessarily recommend the beefsteaks for this purpose. You can certainly mix them in, but I wouldn't make a full salad out of just beefsteak tomatoes unless they're like an heirloom tomato, then that might be okay, but they tend to not have as much flavor as Romas do. But if that's what you got, that's what you got. No one's going to complain. And if they do, you just tell them to hush, because they can make it themselves next time. That's the rule. If you don't like it, make it yourself. All right, so I think I didn't count these. Anybody count how many tomatoes I put in here? This feels like 4. But I lost count. All right. Let's see how this is looking. So we have a pretty good mix of tomato and cucumber, so I'm going to let it be there. And I'm just going to add my onion in. These onions I just cut a little bit of this just about a couple hours ago for dinner or for lunch. And I saved these. I'm just going to cut them a little bit better. I still like to have them fairly chunky again, but I don't want them to be super chunky. And then we'll put these in here as well. And then we're almost done. All right, so this is the main bulk of your salad. We're going to set this aside and we're going to make the marinade. So small jar. You're going to use olive oil. just a good virgin olive oil, about a cup of olive oil, 3/4 of the cup. I'm not measuring, but you might want to measure. So about a cup of olive oil, about 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons of balsamic. So there's 1, 2-ish, 3-ish. You want about a teaspoon of salt, and you can add more salt after you have finished your salad to make sure it tastes the way you want it to. And a good little shake of pepper. Then you're also going to want to get just a little bit of sugar, probably about a tablespoon. It just really depends on how much onion you put in and how much you want to put sugar in. A lot of these recipes like to have 2 tablespoons or 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, and I personally think that's just way too much. You could also add some honey in here if you wanted to. I'm just going to use some brown sugar. And then we're going to set that aside, and we're going to chiffonade. You guys know what chiffonade is? We're going to chiffonade this fresh basil, and that's a chiffonade. Let me show you. We're going to stack these basil leaves on top of each other, and then just roll them up into a little bundle, like so. And then we're going to take our knife and just kind of run it along so that it creates these little tiny strips. That is a chiffonade. So once again, I'm going to take these leaves, I'm going to stack them on top of each other, then I'm going to kind of roll it up like so, and I'm going to run my knife along it to create little ribbons, little fresh basil ribbons, and then throw those into my oil. And what's going to happen is that oil and the basil are all going to marinate with the tomato and create a very lovely, delicious, fresh salad. So now, if you never knew what chiffonade was, that is chiffonade. All right, so now I have all of my basil in there. I'm going to take my green onions. My green onions are giant. They came from my garden, and they just keep growing. And I'm just going to cut these fairly small. Once again, this is going to marinate in with my oil and my tomatoes and all that good stuff. All right, so I have about half a cup here. It really doesn't matter, whatever you prefer. And that's going to go in there as well. Okay, so now we have our oily mixture. We're going to mix that up real well, like so. And then we're going to take our tomato mixture, and we're going to just dump this right over the top of it. Probably grab a spatula to get all of that little good stuff out of there. And then we're going to stir this up. And you see it gets all coated in here. And what's going to happen is it's actually going to get a little bit more liquidy the longer it sits there. And that's okay. And then we have our fresh mozzarella pearls. These I'm going to put in right before I serve this. You can put them in right away. That totally is fine, especially if you want all the flavors to get into your mozzarella. I personally like these to be nice and the texture to be crisp. So these are going to go in at the very end for me. Like I said, it doesn't matter. And if I were making this for a potluck or some sort of a barbecue where I had to have things made ahead, I would be putting those in now because it's just one less thing to think about. But because I don't have to, I'm going to put those in fresh. But there you go. That is the end. That is as easy as it is, and a great way to use up fresh produce that you get from the farmer's market or from your garden, or in this case, from my box of Imperfect Foods. All right, you guys, I'll be back on Friday for a coffee chat. I hope you guys have a great day. Stay cool, stay safe. Bye, guys.